This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this StockBox interview.
Joining us today is Patrick Cullen, the CEO of Katoro. Patrick, thank you for joining us. I know you've been at PDAC. How are things and what was the conference like?
Good morning. Yeah, Mark. Really busy few days. Excellent. Really set out with a number of objectives and basically ticked everything off. Very impressed by what's happening in Ontario specifically. But if I just to go back, I mean, we've just completed our GM last Friday. Everything went through 94% of the vote on and so everything moving ahead. We have funds in the door, shares issued this morning. If I go to the objectives for me at PDAC, well, the timing was excellent. So obviously we've arrived in Ontario. We've got the ground. We're completing the acquisition of 31 Explore. With these lithium projects in Ontario. We have the uranium that we staked last September at White Pine. So key objective for me was to go and meet the service providers. And this is an excellent opportunity to meet the geologists face to face, get to know the people, make decisions about who we like and who we're going to go forward with. We're going to most likely employ more than one service provider because we have a lot of work to do and those plans will emerge as we go forward. But on top of that, we have, you have the government of Ontario, which is hugely supportive of the development of critical metals specifically in that state. I was lucky enough to be at the Ontario government stand when the Premier Doug Ford attended to give his press conference, which was very encouraging and obviously very timely given, the discussions around tariffs from the US and such, and really they're getting 100% behind the development of critical metals in the space. On a kind of face-to-face basis, we're talking to not just the Ontario Geological Survey. Obviously, they provide us with, expertise and support and free support. I mean, we have experts that give us advice and give us the information we need to move forward, but also their information branch more generally, their mineral development branch, indigenous consultation branch. So these are, all critical parts of when you're in a jurisdiction, and it just speaks to the nature of this jurisdiction and why it's been such a good choice for Katoro to select this as the way forward. Other stakeholders would include the indigenous peoples of Ontario and some of the areas where we plan to work and where we're going to be getting on the ground. So I was lucky enough to attend a very smaller part of the conference, which was the Ontario Chiefs. They represent the indigenous populations, and I think that was quite unique because often you just interact with those on an email or just by letter. So to meet people face to face and to be able to ask questions, really, really happy with that. And then so busy, as I said, then to review what others are doing. Okay, so what's happening on the ground in terms of Ontario, in terms of lithium exploration? What's been happening in Quebec next door? So I can go there. I know I have a much better grasp of what is it going to take to build a mine in this part of the world, because there are mines being constructed. So yeah, so that's kind of a quick sum up of what I was doing.
Okay. Good. And of course, you're funded now, aren't you? So, I mean, you've got the money to go and effectively crack on. So what are the plans, really? What comes next for Katoro?
Yeah, so essentially, the field season in this part of the world sort of starts towards the end of April, middle of April at the earliest. Okay. We're very fortunate, and not just fortunate, but through selection, we're focused on projects that have good access through paved roads, essentially. And I encourage people to refer back to the RNSs that announced the 31 acquisition. So we're going to be appointing service providers. We're going to be getting on the ground and doing the first real exploration in terms of sampling, mapping, and providing results out. Pretty excited to do that. If I go back and just mention the things that I've learned from what's happening in Quebec in the James Bay area, I've been impressed by some of the advanced projects in Ontario also. it occurs to me that that we knew that a lot of Ontario is underexplored. What's happening in the wider field, such as Rio Tinto now this morning confirming the acquisition of Arcadium and some of those projects and mines that are getting constructed are in Quebec in the province next door, like $6.7 billion deal. I see that, and just more generally speaking about lithium, we saw Orion this morning, who's invested in a mine construction or mine development in Nevada, $250 million from Orion, who people I think in London are familiar with, mostly to do with gold projects typically. But what's happening in Ontario is that Frontier Minerals, Frontier Lithium, who are in joint venture with Mitsubishi, they've announced plans to construct a lithium refinery in Thunder Bay. So Thunder Bay is on the north shore of Lake Superior. That's right central to where our operations are located. So this just changes the landscape very dramatically. If we're exploring in an area where there's a lithium refinery being constructed or in operation in the future, it really puts us in the right space. Looking at the future, we'll be on the ground, like I say, more likely towards the end of April. But in the meantime, just refining those plans, interacting with the Ontario Geological Survey and trying to achieve get as much data and such as we can going forward. But very excited, a very worthwhile visit, achieved a lot.
Okay, and just finally then, as you're getting on the ground in April, what would the sort of work program look like? What would be the main objectives? So
main objectives are to establish what sort of grades of lithium that we can expect from some of these pegmatites that we've identified.
Okay.
So
that would look like what? Channel sampling, trenching?
Yeah, so just rock chip sampling, some channel. You can cut channels on the pegmatites. Like we've got great exposure in some of these places. We've got wonderful information in terms of what's available in terms of this LiDAR data that shows us the topography and actually delineates some of these lithium pegmatites. But I think what the key thing here is that unlike a lot of other minerals, in the case of lithium, where you have exposure, where you have outcrop, you can quickly go from a situation, and this is the whole opportunity I think that Katoro is presenting here, is that you're going from something that really is unknown in terms of its value. It hasn't been explored, but we can now start to identify these things very straightforwardly, and then go up to them and just immediately establish that there's value there. So we're looking forward to that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the update today. Patrick Cullen, the CEO of Katoro.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at StockBoxMedia.com. Thank you for watching.